you're making waves, the income just can't help but follow. And her top five business values, which really align with mine, are integrity, intentional disruption of the status quo, humor and fun, authenticity, and anti cookie cutter one size fits all. Because let's be real, one size fits all is boring. It's so
Boring.
boring. So tell me a little bit about your business.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity, Jeanette. You are just such a gem, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life. And so, a tiny bit about me. I am a master business coach and I work with female founders all over the world, and I help them overcome several problems. And one is stagnation, the other one
Mm.
is invisibility, and the last one is creating a customized sales funnel. There's so many plug and play opportunities out there for all three of those things, but they weren't designed for your business. And so that's where I come in and just create that customization, because your authenticity deserves to shine.
I absolutely love that because that's kind of the same thing that I say. Like, it doesn't matter what your strategy is, but they won't all work for you. They
Right.
all work, but not necessarily for you because that's not what God has called you to do or how he's called you to act in the
Yes.
marketplace. And so if you're doing Russell Brunson's technique or Amy Porterfield's technique and God said you're not supposed to do that, it's not going to work for you.
No, absolutely not. No, it'll work for certain people, but not for you. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Like they will work, maybe not for you though. So tell me about your new book that just came out in May. I am so excited because I love people who are writers and authors and who are like multifaceted. Tell me all about your book.
Ah, it's called God is the CEO of Your Business.
Yes, he is.
And yes, he is. And I created it, well, because for one, he told me to. So back in November, he had actually really been pushing me to get into a small group. And I had been looking for a small group, looking for a small group, and I just never found one that I resonated with or that met my needs. And he's like, no, you misunderstood me. You're creating a small group. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm creating a small group. So I created a Bible study called God is the CEO of My Business for female founders. And excuse me, we meet once a week. He said, and now you're going to write a book. And I was like, and I've already written one book. And so he was like, no, you're going to write another book and you're not going to tell any. I mean, I didn't even tell my husband I was writing this book. He was like, it's just going to, like, this is between you and I, blah, blah, blah. So I was faithful and obedient. And I just started sitting down and writing. And my first book I wrote in 7 days, but it was during COVID, so what else did you have to do, right? So there's
True,
that
true.
caveat. Normally, you can't write a book in 7 days, just saying. So this one took about 4 months. And yeah, and so what it is a weekly journal, and it really gets you to put God as the CEO of your business. And it opens up opportunities for you to, and I did not coin this phrase is very common, but to look for those God winks in your business. And so it's crafted in a way that walks you through that. And the other thing that I really like about this is it's not dated. So you don't have to
Mm.
wait. Some people, whenever it comes to daily devotionals or weekly devotionals, they're all dated. And so they wait till January 1 to start it or whatever. And God said, nope, just leave it open. And that way you can start at any time. Now, of course, you can start at the beginning of the year. That's obviously, there's no right or wrong way to do that there, because it's you and your business, and want you to be faithful to what God's telling you. But everything is, there's over 7,000 promises in the Bible. And so
Mm.
every week is based off of one of those promises that is in the Bible for us to be successful in our business. And so that's the premise of that.
I love that. I love that. And you said something that I want to get deeper into, which was God told me not to tell anybody about this.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
what was that like? What was it like to be like, all right, God, I'm excited about this. I want to do this, but I can't tell anybody about it.
It was I've never he's never instructed me in that way before, because he knows that I have a big mouth and I can be very vocal. And so, but I think it was his way of testing me to see how obedient I would be, and that type of thing, because he does those things, right? And so I just sat quietly, and I just did my thing. And every time I sat down to write, I just said, okay, God, what do you want me to do with this writing opportunity? And he just really directed me into the Bible verses he wanted me to put in there. And there's some prayers that are throughout there for you to really pray about God becoming the CEO of your business, and how to put him first. So, but it was hard because I didn't even tell my husband.
Yeah.
And, so when I released the book, he was like, huh? Like, what? When did you do this? Kind of a thing. And I'm like, well, I've been doing it for the last 4 months. He's like, huh? you know, like you like, yeah.
I love that though. I love that God was like, I just have this secret thing for me and you that we are going to do this thing and I'm going to just use it because I want this to be a secret thing between me and you. And then when it's ready, it can come out. I don't want you to tell everybody. I feel like sometimes when you tell people, like it, for me, anyways, it's like, I don't do it as much. I don't know. Or I get too like I'm looking for their approval more than God's approval. And I'm
Mm,
like, "Ooh, should I do it like this? Should I do it like this? Maybe I shouldn't have told anybody. Maybe I should have just done it myself and put it out there and then be done with it, right?"
yeah. And
So
I
good.
think he really wanted it to just be under his guidance and not somebody else coming in and putting their input. He's like, no, I want this to be 100% my input, meaning
Yeah.
his input, not
Yes. Yes.
not Angie's input, God's input. Let's get that little distinction there, because literally every time I sat down to write, I was like, okay, show me, the next Bible verse and the next Bible verse, and till I had all 52 of them. So,
Let's go. I love when God is like that. I love when God's like, "Here you go. I'll just give it to you. You just
mhm,
be obedient. I'll just give you the things." So
yeah.
your business though, is your business faith forward on the outside or are you faith centered?
So I'm very faith centered. I don't hide. I will never hide behind, and
Yeah.
because I am a Christian, I'm a proud Christian. I gladly stand in my Christianity and will shout it from the mountaintops all day long. But just to be transparent, my business isn't faith focused. I do have components of it that are biblically based. Like one of my taglines is like, "Together we'll move mountains." Well,
Amen.
that's, I built my whole entire business off of the Bible verse, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you say to the mountain, move, and it shall be done. And so there are definite remnants of my faith and that type of thing. And then um, although I customize programming for all of my clients, some of the things that I incorporate in there are definitely rooted in biblical principles and biblical foundations, and that type of thing. And so I incorporate it, but I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm a faith based
Right.
business coach.
And I don't think that to me that doesn't really matter, right? Because it's you and who you are supposed to be helping. And so like if you're assigned to people that are not Christians, you don't want to turn them off by saying I'm a Christian business coach and then then they come in and they're like, or you can't help them show, you can't show them the love of God. You can't show them those things. You can't like covertly show them Jesus, which I think maybe that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's who God has created you to be.
Yeah. And I think about that all the time because I do work with women literally all over the world. And many of them have never, you know, really understood the Bible and Christianity. And so I actually had one client because she was reading through my stuff and it was faith based. And she said, is God here? And that question kind of
Wow.
threw me. And so it opened up this massive conversation for us to talk about, yes, he's here, and I shared how he guides my business, how he guides my life. And I purposely started like the Bible study on Monday mornings because he told me like as you start your week is how you end your week. So I want to start my week rooted in worship, rooted in
Yes.
biblical principles, rooted in God being the CEO of my business. Then I want to finish the week like that too. And so it just opened up this conversation. And we're called to bring people into the kingdom, right? And so if I can do that in a way that is accepting to women, then bring it on. I'm all about that.
Amen. Amen. I love that because like you said, if you can bring women into Christianity and show them and be like, "Oh, Angie's a little rough around the edges. She's a Christian. What does that mean?" Because
Mhm.
it's not the typical normal
Right.
Christian looking thing, right? You're the
Yeah.
girl with the purple hair.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. It's a little gray right now. It's getting done in a couple of days, but yes, I am the girl with the purple hair. And I have had women ask me, they're like, because they are Christian women, but they have a business, they have a secular business, and they're like, how do you manage that? How do you manage, your faith, and how do you incorporate it into your business? And I share what works for me. I am not
Yeah.
about telling people what works for them. So
Amen.
I encourage them to just pray about it and ask
Yeah.
God, every interaction that I engage in, I actually schedule a buffer between every single appointment that I have so that I can pray and say, okay, God, what do you want me to do with this opportunity? Guide my words, guide my actions. This is your business, not mine. You're in control, not me. And, and a lot of people don't know that I necessarily do that. I mean, my clients know because I am open about that, but the general population doesn't know. And now, which once again, it's not a secret, it's a practice. And I said, but that's what God guided me to do, and God might guide you to do something very, very different. And so just being open to hearing what he has to offer for you.
Absolutely. And so you're talking about your business being doing a lot of funnels and sales strategy. Tell me a little bit about that. How do you work with clients? How does that look like in their business? You said they're all custom, custom tailor made to theirs. So like how
Yes.
does that look like for a client that's like looking for a sales coach?
Yeah, so I really just unpack women's businesses and get them a lot of clarity. And because most of the women who are attracted to my brand are women who would like to increase their revenue, so that they can have more income and they can have more freedom. Freedom's one of my top 10 values. But when you have more income, you have more freedom. And you can also, I view it as the more I have, the more I can give. And so that's something that's super important to me. But I really help women unpack and gain a lot of clarity around every single aspect of their business. And I can't think, I've been in business almost 13 years. I can't think of a client yet who didn't have those multiple aha moments of, oh, because you can't see the forest through the trees, right? Like it's your business, you know all the things and the things and the things, but then when an outsider looks at it, they're like, oh, how did I miss that? And it's like, well, same, that's why I have a coach, because I miss things in my own business. So I have a coach to help me see the things that I can't see. But I really help them customize, and I teach them how to create a customized sales funnel so that the next time they come out with an offer that perhaps is for a different audience, they can go through those same steps, because it's not going to be a plug and play. However, once you learn how to create a sales funnel that can be customized to you, I just show you how to walk through so that you don't miss, you have anything. You have super clarity around every aspect of what that offer is, who it's for, and all of the things. And because most of the time we get it wrong, where we pick our avatar first. It's like, well, I want to serve this population.
Right.
You know, the first thing you do is unpack what's the solution you want to offer,
Mm.
um, whatever that looks like, because it's typically your zone of genius, the thing that lights you up, the thing that you're most good at. And so let's look at that. What problem do you want to solve? What solution do you want to offer? And then go out and say, now who has that problem and who's looking for that solution? And just that little adjustment in and of itself, and there's many more, just tiny little adjustments that need made, that make all the difference in the world.
If you guys aren't listening right now, Angie just gave you gold. Rewind this, pause it, go back. She just gave you the golden nugget that you need in order to really up level your business, because it's not about your target audience first. It's about what is your zone of genius. Then how do you find the person who needs that thing?
Yeah.
Because God made you specifically with
Yes.
this zone of genius to do these things, and then you find who you're supposed to help. I love that. I love that. So
Yep.
good. So
Yep.
good.
That, and a lot of times it's just those minor little adjustments. Typically there's nothing major, but if you just think, if you made those minor little adjustments throughout every single step of your sales funnel, just think what could happen.
Yes.
Mm.
So, Angie, I just love that you do this in this way, because it feels almost a little bit prophetic in the way that you're like, I need to see everything about what's going on. I need to help you figure out what the mud is, clear your eyes. Let's
Mhm.
get back into where God has created you to be, how he's created you to be. Let's go find that and do the things that you've been assigned to
Yeah.
for the people who've been assigned to you. Yes, I love
Yes.
that. And you don't do it necessarily, I mean, obviously for Christian women too, but it's so amazing that you get to take this same process, the same God process, and help people that might not ever know God as deeply, as intimately, but you're giving him like his blueprint. You're giving him a little wink of God. You're giving him those little like nudges of, look, that's what God did for you. So when they go back, they can be like, oh, Angie was sent straight from the Lord. Yes, she
Mhm.
was. Yes, she was. I love that. So
Uh,
tell me a little bit more about like your life and like how you became 13 years in this business.
Yeah, so like most women, I created my business out of adversity. In my professional life, before I was an entrepreneur, I've always really sat in the training space. Even when I graduated when I was 17, I moved out the day after I graduated. I mean, all the things. And I was very, very young. I started kindergarten when I was 4. I'd like to say it was because I was a prodigy. No, it was because my parents wanted to get rid of me. Because I'm a little bit ornery, and I like to have fun, and I can. I can be a handful at times, and I fully recognize that. But, God has a sense of humor and he likes to have fun too. So I'm still created in his likeness.
Yes, you
But,
are.
so anyhow, so I've always sort of sat in that training space, and that's really one of my zones of genius. And I have a way of being able to offer up suggestions for adjustments in your business in a way that doesn't, because I never ever want my clients to feel like, oh, I've been doing it wrong. And it's
Right.
like, no, no, no. It's, you do the best you can with the information that you have. Now you've just gained more information. That's all it is. It's not that you were doing it wrong. You did it based on the information you had. Now that you have more information, you can just make those little adjustments, and now it will perform better. And so, but yeah, so back to my story. I was working at an organization where I'd been for 10 years, and I was onboarding a new hire, and I was the supervisor of the program. Like I said, I'd been there for 10 years. This gentleman was fresh out of college, which with no experience, which I was there once too, so that wasn't the issue. The issue was is the executive director offered him $3,000 a year more than I was making. And I was like, wait, wait, wait. I've been here 10 years. I'm the supervisor of the program, blah, blah, blah. And he looked me dead in the face and said, that's all you're worth. And I was like, nope, nope, sorry. So I would like to tell you that I
What?
handled it in the most Christian way possible, but that would be a lie.
Girl, I
Um,
wouldn't have either.